So yeah, uh, let's start the presentations. So first we have Ganesh Kalyankar. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Hello. Hello and good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Let me share my screen. Okay. So I have two presentation left. One is doctor's appointment and second is SRS document.
Okay.
Okay. So first, let's start with doctor's appointment, single page
Okay.
web application. Myself, Ganesh Kalyankar. I am from Full Stack Web Developer Group from 16th of January page. Introduction. In this task, we have created a single page doctor's web application. In single page, all the components load at the one time, whereas in multiple page application, whenever you go to a link, it will load at that time. Means it take a time to load multiple pages, whereas in single page, it takes less time. The main objective is of this project is to search for doctors near the user based on the criteria. Implemented a search feature so that user can search based on the area and the type of the doctors, like what geosurgeon, physician, etc. Uh, like I have used various skills to develop this web application, including HTML, basic HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Figma, Lokify, and etc. In this project, I have created a user interface which was designed using Figma. So first I have to learn Figma. Using Lokify, I used to import the code like for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code, which I have created using Figma. Then I have used web host 000 to host my web service as an hosting service. I use PHP as backend language. PHP is used backend to connect the front end to the backend. Backend includes database. Database I deploy on web host 000. For database, I use MySQL database, which is a relational database. For testing, I used Postman. So these are the tools I used majorly in this task. So first is Figma. What is Figma? Figma is a free web-based design tool that allows you to create and collaborate on interactive prototypes. Another advantage of Figma is that it allows real-time collaboration of the same file. In simple words, Figma is used to create an interactive designs, and at the same time, you can share it with the multiple people, like you can work in a group. Locofy.ai. It is an AI platform that converts the design to code. So here is the database. It is a relational database which includes ID, doctor's name, doctor area, doctor category, information, and image. Uh, so I uploaded the code like PHP code and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript file on 000 web host. It is a free web host service. Then I use Postman to test the created APIs. So let's go to the demo part. So here is the website. Like I also add some JavaScript functionalities, like when you hover the components, it toggle. Here also on submit button, it goes, single page will go upwards a little bit. If we put nothing in these columns and directly search for this item, then it will give us all the available doctors. And if you search only according to location, like if I type Jabalpur, you can search, then there are the options. And that's the below part. Here is the 000 web host. So that's it for this slide. Thank you. Any questions, sir?
Okay, you can start with your next presentation. and then I'll give you a review for both the presentations. Okay.
Okay, sir. So the next one is a software requirement specification, again by Ganesh Kalyankar. So what is an SRS? A software requirement specification is a document that describes what client needs in its software. Like it is very difficult to understand the client on first go. So SRS is a repetitive process. It changes time to time according to the client's requirement. How it will be expected to perform. It also describes the functionality the product needs to be fulfilled, the needs of all stakeholders. Like SRS includes all types of requirements, like functional requirements and non-functional requirements. We talk about both of them in next slides. Purpose: to develop web application that aids hospital in converting manual process into digital process. It also helps to develop personalized plans for patient and enable fast and reliable communication between stakeholders. Here I specifically talk about the TM web application. Like we have to create the SRS document for the patient doctor interface. So steps involved in SRS. First, we have to review the discussion video playlist, identify the scope of the project, identify the stakeholders who uses the web application. In this project, the stakeholders are the patients. Define the functional and non-functional requirements. Defining the functional and non-functional requirements are one of the most important part of the SRS. Identify the requirements of high priority. Identify the possible use cases scenarios for the web application. Data requirements, testing requirements, and timeline. Timeline is also a very important part. Like if you take time to create a good SRS, then to create the project, it will take lesser time. And if your SRS is mess up, then it will take more time to develop the application. Conclusion: establish the basis for agreement between customers and the suppliers on what the software product is to do. Reduces the development effort, like I previously said, provided a basis for estimating schedules. SRS also played important role in deciding the cost of the project. Let's go to the document. Like here is the SRS for trusting minds, TM master web application. So the objective is to develop a mechanism for the objective of this document is to develop a mechanism for medical practitioners like doctor to evaluate patients' health in digital mode. Like in digital era, it is not feasible to visit a patient to doctor or doctor to a patient. So it is best suited that we can digitally transfer the data to the doctor. Medical personnel will be able to assess patients using the program by gathering data on their medical history, symptoms, and physical examination. And we must understand the software requirement specification of the project. Like now you are getting how you can examine the patient who is far away from the doctor. We can send all the required devices to the patient first, and then he will measure accordingly to himself. And then he will put data to the website. Now move forward, functional requirements and non-functional requirements. Functional requirements are the end requirements which are given by the user, and non-functional requirements are the like you can say the backend requirements like security, accessibility, performance, scalability, and etc. So here are some functional requirements. First, user has to registration. So management of user should be proper. There should be a registration page in which user has to put his ID and password. Then he will book an appointment according to his preferred doctor. If he want, he can cancel the appointment, reschedule it, and as he can also review his profile to see his appointment. There is a patient profile page where he can see all its information regarding the patient, like its personal information, medical information, personality test, etc. Personality assessment includes a complete personality assessment, which includes 3 sections and about 40 to 45 questions and assess their mental and physical health. Stool form. There are like some other forms also, like stool form, food dairy form, etc. Similarly, there is a doctor profile page where there is a proper information of the doctor, his education, name, age, etc. But he doesn't need to provide the its medical uh, information, but he needs to provide its medical expertise. Payment gateway. Once the patient selects his choice of package, he will do the payment according to payment gateway. Payment management is also one of the crucial module of any project. Once the payment is done, then the prescription according to the patient's medical information provided by patient, a medical prescription is provided by the doctor. Now, some non-functional requirements. Like I previously said, it includes security, performance, usability, etc. Security means data encryption. Patient is providing his crucial information about health, so data should be encrypted so that no other person can access the data. Secure login, two-factor authentication, and regular backups. It is not. It is also possible that where the data you stored, it can get erupted. So regular backup is needed. Performance. Once the application starts growing, the uh, number of users starts increasing. So it will play an important factor in the performance of the application. So time to time, the performance should also be increased. Usability. UI should be user friendly. Uh, Conclusion. The online application goal is to convert manual hospital procedure into digital ones so that patients can receive better treatment. So here is the flowchart. Let me zoom it. First, the patient books the appointment, then it does its registration. It's a secure registration, then he fills the form. This form includes all the information about the patient, like its personal information, information regarding his health, and etc. Then next he selects the package according to his preference. Then he does the payment. If payment fails, then again he can goes to the package. If payment succeed, the information stores in the database. Then on successful payment, the doctor will ask for the more questions like about personality, form, body, etc. like current data which are needed for the examination. According to the current data provided by the patient, doctor created a diet chart which is timely reminded to the patient. After expiration of the package, he can rejoin the package or he can neglect it. So that's all from my side. Thank you. Any questions, sir?
So Ganesh, are you done?
Yes, sir.
So can you show me your doctor's website presentation, please?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So minimize it. So the flow was good. I'll say the flow was good, and the PPT is well maintained. I'd like to ask one question. Apart from 00 web host, what are the other hosting websites?
Like I previously used Heroku,
Okay.
but now they are also charging. So now their option is also Netlify.
Okay.
And for single page, we can also use GitHub pages.
Okay.
It is also
Okay.
a better option.
Okay. So as you can see, can you just scroll down? Scroll down to the last PPT, last slide. So yeah, as you can see, you are missing that reference slide. There
Oh,
must there must be a picture from where you have designed your Figma part, right?
yes, sir.
So you should have included that reference
Yes,
from where
sir.
you took that, right? So you are missing that reference slide, I would say. And then the demo was good. The page is looking kind of colorful and well managed, I'll say that. And you have added that CSS script, so it can easily take all the doctors information, and you can just scroll down, so it will show all the doctors available. And then you were saying you used JavaScript to hover the effect and everything, right?
Means, sir, in Figma, there are some features like I directly
Yeah,
use them.
exactly. So you used Figma, right,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
directly use that effect, hover effect, right? So
Yes.
but in presentation you said you were used JavaScript. Yeah.
Okay.
So you
Like,
should actually I want to say you should prepare before giving presentation. You should just prepare once and then give the final presentation.
okay.
The flow was good, and you have included the contact ID of yours, and that's it from my side. Can you show me your second presentation,
Yes, sir.
the SRS document? Okay. Yeah. So you used pointers and then you explained them by yourself. That was a good
Yes, sir.
thing, and the flow was good. You should add flowchart before when you use these steps now. So you should actually add the flowchart before and then explain it. So we don't have to actually read every slide and then go to flowchart, because you explain flowchart similarly
Mm,
the way you explain these things.
okay.
So a flowchart is much more easily to understandable than the text, right?
Yes, sir.
And can you just scroll down? So yeah, you added a conclusion slide which was missing in the doctor's appointment page. You didn't include a conclusion slide, continuation, right? So
Oh,
there is no conclusion slide. And one thing which is common in both the presentations, that you actually miss that hook story part, like why you created this website, and what's the need and what does it actually solve, and why exactly we use SRS document, when was it invented, or something like that. So you miss that hook story part, so you need to
okay.
work on that part,
Okay. I will keep that in mind.
because that hook story is very important to a presentation. It catches your viewers attention, right? And yeah, that's it from my side. The flow was good, I would say. The flow was good and your presentation was well formatted, and yeah, that's it from my side.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure.
So, sir, I have to write my roll number in this ID in chat.
You added your batch, right?
Yeah. No, in slide, I haven't added.
Okay, you should actually add your batch.
Okay. I just spoke. So,
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on further, and next we have Pratyush. Yeah, you can
Hello,
unmute yourself,
hello.
Pratyush.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool. So I have two presentations to give.
Okay.
So it has to be first scope, function, and closure. That was the last topic that's remaining, and then it's project hypnosis of the stock market that we are doing. So
Okay.
I'm good. Should I go ahead?
Yeah, you can continue.
Yeah. So first of all, we have the last topic, that's scope, function, and closures. So basically, last time we had control loops over here. So we came to know about control loops, like how the instructions are directed towards each other and how a flow is maintained in a program. So today we are going to talk about further ahead about scope, like how it is scope, what is function, what is closures. So here we go. So scope is basically the execution in which the value and express are visible or can be referenced. So basically, it's just the fact that where the value is, what you can say is like valid. So there are three types of scopes we can when you can talk about it. block scope, function scope, and global scope. So pretty much it's here. So global scope, as the name suggests, is that if you assign a value of a variable, it's going to be valid everywhere in the program, and that's how it's done. So basically, you don't declare it inside a function, and even though if the value is there in the function, so the value would be taken from the program rather than a value inside. So basically, they can't be accessed or modified. So then you come towards the local scope. Local scope is like that there are two keywords. So there is global scope and there is local scope. So what happens is that it's the basically, as I mentioned in the third point, variables declared inside brackets cannot be accessed from outside the box. Like what we used to do in global is that we can access the value outside from the scope. So that's how we do it. So this is a perfect example and elaborating how global and local variable works. So global variables like either global ka value 5 hai, so it's valid over here, and local ka value 2 hai. So when someone will print it, so then we'll get the consecutive output. Then we come to function scope. So function scope ka kya scene hai? So if we get to compare it with local and global, so function scope, what happens is that it's for only the function. So hoga kya ki once it's declared for the function, so value leke it's going to be executed. So there are three constants: var, let, and const. So when you assign a value to a constant, what happens is that the value doesn't change and anywhere. So but when you assign it with variable or let, once like you can change the value or reassign the value. In const it doesn't work like that. So okay, so we are done with function scope. Now we talk about the function. So basically, whenever we do a program, what happens is that there are a certain things that are to be performed repeatedly, like for example, a printing of a certain value. But value change hoti hai, but the statement still remains the same. So functions are meant to do the repetitive work. So we reuse the particular code with sort of a little bit of changes every time it's executed. So this is how it works. So this is the part of function. So there is a keyword, there is a name, and there are parameters. Parameters can be empty as well. But as you mentioned in this slide, we can understand that we are calculating the area with width and the height. So this and we declared a result with let, and so this is how actually it works. So this is the function. So I explained the parts of the function, parenthesis, where you give the parameters of the function, and then return part is the most important one, because what happens is that if the function invoked from the statement, JavaScript will return to execute the code. So each and every time the code is executed and return statement is invoked, so we get a return value. Then closures in JavaScript. So closure is the last topic. So what happens is that obviously there are variables that can belong to local and global scope at the same time. And whereas global variables can be made local and private with closures. This is called as JavaScript closure. So basically it's meant to protect any access from the outside. And whenever there are certain conditions when you don't want your function to be executed, you use closures. So this is the way to go. This information cannot be used from here or there. So this is how it's represented. Ki, like when you go for the name Bob, it's not found. But when you go for so basically it's all about the scope. So it's more or less about that only. So this is the first presentation. Does anybody have questions? Or should I move to the next one? Sorry.
So is this presentation over?
Yeah.
So you can continue your next presentation.
Okay. So this is the project hypnosis. So basically, so we are doing a project hypnosis as a part of our task. So what is before and I would like you all to understand what's the project hypnosis. So obviously before doing a big task, you should have an overview about what you are doing. So project hypnosis is basically a SWOT analysis or basically a thorough analysis before you start a project. So it's usually given to the authorities, competent authorities, so which have a paranomic view, like what and how is going to happen and when is going to happen. So it's a protocol of a research process or a thesis that we do. So this is the thing we are doing is basic project hypnosis. And then project description. So what we are doing is that we are making a real-time stock market data web application. So basically what happens is that we all know the importance of the stock market. So like we all know how versatile a stock market is. It within the matter of seconds and minutes, markets fell down and they go up. So what we are going to do is we are going to make an easy app, easy to use web application, which will display real-time uh, stock market values. It will need to track their investments as well, and we need to make sure it's a secure application. That's where the user authentication part comes in. So these are the objectives. So it's a real-time stock market data. So yeah, it's a real-time store. So what does real-time mean? So it gives you the data of particular instance. As we all know that share market changes in the matter of seconds. So it just gives you the real-time value of what is the value of money. So we need to make an API in such a way that it gives you the real-time value. Then user authentication and security. So in user authentication security, we are going to make sure that the application is secure as there is going to be a lot of involvement of money. So you can't just make it insecure. Then that's mentioned before, it's an easy to understand format that traders you don't have to make extraordinary efforts so that uh, they they don't have to make efforts for themselves to understand the software. So then it's a responsive design. So we want a responsive design, hence we are going to go with React.js, which is actually a good way to have a responsive design. So technologies as mentioned, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React.js. React.js will be used as front end as well as HTML and CSS. So and it's a library of React.js is a library of JavaScript only. So at the backend, we are going to use Node. Node is a framework with of JavaScript, and Express will be used for mapping all your websites, and MongoDB is going to use for your data storage. And then these are some APIs that we are going to work with: Alpha Vantage API, Linux API. And if we are not going to find some, if these are not going to work, or if these are paid, so we are going to look for the particular alternatives. Challenges. So challenges is going to be pulling off a real-time data of a website on the website, and it has to be made easy to use. So as mentioned before, these are the two things that we are going to focus on. And obviously security is a primary concern, like how secure it has to be, because it's a matter of money and it's a matter of seconds. So we need APIs to react fast, and we need to make sure that a customer's money is being secured. And so the deliverables are a fully functional real-time stock market data web application, and the document outlining of the design and development of the application, like obviously what you call as a user manual, and presentation showcasing the applications and the features. So that will be at the end of this task. And to conclude, it's just the fact that it's an interesting challenge that we are going to take on. And I just went through the React basics, and obviously it's the first time we are making a full stack application. We have made the website as well, but yeah, it's going to be a next level, and it's an exciting challenge. So thank you everyone. Any questions? Sorry, I'm done.
Yeah, okay. You're done, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take the review of this particular project synopsis first. So can you just move up? So as you know, this is a kind of very informative task, and I want to appraise you that you actually explain things in a good manner. So that's a good point, that you explain many points without actually including them in the slide. You explain it by yourself. Uh, I believe you are lacking some formatting issues, I guess. You should add some flowcharts to your PPTs or some graphs, because it's about the real-time stock marketing. So it's about stock market. So if there are flowcharts and graphs, whether what are the current scenarios of stock market, what is NSE, BSE, and all that stuff, that's more important about relating to this task, right? So you could have added that because your PPT looks kind of dry, right? So it's just some text. Although you explained it good, but you should have included that. And then the presentation, this PPT actually lacks that Q&A slide. If you look into it, you're lacking that Q&A slide. So that's important. And so you should add some graphs to make it look more attractive. Can you show your first presentation, please? So yeah, so in this you actually added some quotes and you added some minor here to there cross where should we focus on. So that was a good point about this presentation. You went from scope and then you gone for function, then for closure. So your way of presenting is good, but your PPT looks kind of dry. Still, I'll say that for this PPT as well. You should work on your formatting part. That's very important. 40% of the presentation is about how you make your PPT look good. Yeah, so that should be done from your side. Can you just scroll down?
Where? Last?
Last, go for last.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could have actually made a demo for it. Instead of just pasting the screenshots, you could have actually made a demo. Don't you feel like a demo is very important?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah, it might be very useful if you just make a demo.
Yeah,
it will be more understandable. And again,
formatting.
Yeah, the formatting part is where you are lacking. And so you should have added some reference now where you have gathered these data.
Okay.
So both the presentation actually lack your reference slides.
Okay.
Yeah, because both are conceptual and both requires reference from where you have gathered the data. And yeah, that's it from my side. You should work on your presenting formatting part.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Should I leave?
Yeah, you can leave. You're done, na? Only 2 presentations, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, moving forward, we have Aditya Kumar. You can unmute yourself, Aditya.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure. Please turn on your camera.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I hope you can see me.
Yeah, I can see you.
So I have 3 presentations to give today.
Okay.
So shall I start?
Yeah, you can share your screen, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, I hope you can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. You can start.
So myself, Aditya Kumar. I'm from the web developer group, and the title of my presentation is Data Types, Variables, and Operators in JavaScript. So this will be a table of contents. First, we'll go to data types, then variables, and then operators. Data types in JavaScript. So the various kind of values that can be stored and modified within a program are simply referred to as data types. There are 8 data types, basic data types in JavaScript. String, first is string, which is used to store textual data. It can be stored using single quotes or double quotes, as given by the example. Then the next data type is number, which is used to store an integer or floating number. Then we have begend, which is used to store a number which is less than 2 raised to the power 53 minus 1 or more than the negative value of 2 raised to the power 53 minus 1. Then we have Boolean, which basically represents logical entities. That is true or false, basically. Then we have undefined, which just represents the value that is not assigned, as by the value list that we have not assigned any value to name, and we just console log it and we get undefined as the output. Then we have null, a special value that represents empty or unknown value. We have symbol, that is an immutable primitive value that is unique. So basically we have two constants here today, value 1 and value 2, which are using the data type symbol. So if we compare it with strict equal to operator, it will return false because of symbol, because of how symbol data type works. Then we have object, which is a complex data type which stores collections of data. So here's an example of object data type, student, which has keys as first name, last name, class, and values as ram, null, and 10. So next is variables in JavaScript. Variables are used in JavaScript to store data elements. They act as a temporary storage space for values that can be modified later on. There are 3 ways to declare variables in JavaScript using let. So the declarations, the variables which are declared using let are block scoped and can be updated, but cannot be redeclared. Then the variables which are declared using const are block scoped. They cannot be updated or redeclared later on. Then we have the variables which are declared using var are globally scoped, which can both be updated or redeclared. Then there's operators in JavaScript. Operators are special symbols which are used to perform operations in operands. The following types of operators in JavaScript are arithmetical operators, which are basically used to perform mathematical operations between numeric operands like addition, multiplication, division, abstraction, and so on. As an example, where I've stored 8 by using the addition operator plus 3 plus 5 in number. Then we have assignment operator, which is used to assign values, basically used to assign values to variables. There are basically various types of assignment operators. Simple assignment, plus equal to, minus equal to, and so on. Then we have comparison operators, which basically compares two values and returns a Boolean value, true or false. The comparison operators are like equal to, not equal to, strict equal to. As an example, basically you have const a is equal to 3, b equal to 2. And if I console log a greater than b, which is true, 3 is greater than 2, so we get output as true. Let's look at logical operators. Basically, logical operators perform logical operations, and they also return a Boolean value. It includes operators like logical and, logical or, logical not. Here's an example for reference. Then next is bitwise operators. Bitwise operators perform operations of binary representation of numbers. There are 4 types of bitwise operators: bitwise and, not, or XOR. Next is conclusion of my presentation. Basically, variables allow for dynamic modification of data, while operators allow for the manipulation of both numbers and variables. If developers have a better grasp of the data types, they can write more efficient and effective code. Now let's look at the demo. So basically what I built here is a simple JavaScript calculator. You can do any calculation in it. As I have typed and using multiplication operator, as I click equal to, I get the result. And I can, if I do some mistake or something, I can clear it too. And if I'm gonna clear the screen, I can do this with this C button. Let's look at the code. So here's the HTML code. Here's the div container. It's a div display, and these are all the buttons which are in the simple JavaScript calculator. C/star, and this is for you. This is what I've used for backspace button. Now let's look at the JavaScript code. So here's the display, which variable which basically access the display screen from the calculator by using the ID, element by ID. Then we have buttons which accesses all the buttons from the calculator in the form of an array. And then I applied an event listener to all of the buttons as we click on them, and then we have applied a switch case to it. According to the button someone clicks on a particular piece of code gets executed. If it's C, it just clears the screen. If it's equal to, it calculates it using the eval function, built-in function. Then we have backspace. It just clears the rightmost character. And for default, we are just adding the character to the screen. So these are the references. This is the GitHub repo link for my demo. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. So this is for my first presentation.
Okay, you can continue with the second. You have.
Sure, sir. Should I introduce myself again?
No, you can start with the presentation.
Okay, sir. So this is my second presentation for today. The topic is control structures in JavaScript. This will be the tables of contents, what is control structures, and types of control structures. So control structure is a code-based portion. It supports decisions based on analysis of variables. So basically, it controls the flow of execution in a program. There are three types of control structures: conditional statements, iterative statements, and jump statements. Basically, all of the control structure are divided in these three types of statements. Then let's look at conditional statements. So conditional statement is just selects the block of statement that will get executed based on the given condition. There are two types of conditional statements: if-else statement, switch statement. So if-else statement is a two-way decision statement. It makes decisions and executes them conditionally. Now let's look at the example. We have here if-else statements with first condition as num equal to 0. Basically, if then a variable num is 0, this piece of code gets executed. Then we have num %2. So if the number is odd, this piece of code that gets executed, and if it's none of them, this will get executed by default. So here I have num3, which is not 0 but odd. So I get result as number is odd. Now let's look at switch statement. It is used to perform different actions on different conditions. So basically, it compares expression to several different values, which are in the form of cases in it. Let's look at the example. So here I have a var grade, variable grade, and I have switch case, which basically compares grade with the value stored in grade with all of these cases, and the cases with which matches gets executed. The code in it gets executed. So if it's A, we get as good job. We get about we get good job, and if it's B, pretty good, and so forth. So as the grade is A, we get console logged good job in the console. Let's look at iterative statements. Our iterative looping statement is used to repeatedly execute a set of statements until certain conditions for loop termination get satisfied. There are three types of iterative statements: for loop, while loop, or do while loop. So for loop executes the code for a specific number of times. It is shorter and easier to debug. So basically, for loop is divided into these uh, three scenarios. Um, First is there's a variable count. So first is initialization of the variable. Next is the condition check, and in third we increment or decrement value or this. And so according to this condition, the code in the for loop gets executed as we are going from count 0 to less than 10, that is 1 0 to 9. You get the same console log it. So we get this piece of code, this output. Let's look at while loop. So basically while loops keeps executing the code until the condition is satisfied. Here we have a variable count if it is 0, but as we have declared while, and there's a condition in it which satisfies it right now. It console logs current count, and we keep incrementing it. And as we keep incrementing it, as soon as it reaches 10, the loop stops and we get this output. Let's look at do while loop. It's basically do while loop is similar to while loop, but it basically first executes the code and then checks for the condition. Here we have an example. There's a variable count 0. So we first execute the code and then checks for condition in do while loop. So here we have console logged the count and incremented it. So if the condition is count less than 0, which is false, so we get this output. So if we have executed this in while loop, we wouldn't have gotten any output, because it would have first checked the condition and it would have been false, and similarly. Then let's look at jump statements. These are statements which can transfer control anywhere in the program. Basically used to transfer control anywhere in the program. That's then there are two types of done statements: break statement and continue statement. Let's look at break statement. It is used in loops to terminate execution when encountered. This is there is an example. This is a for loop like before. So if it also, so basically it would have output, we would have gotten output like before z from current count 0 to 9, but here's a condition that I applied. If count becomes equal to 5, we break out of this whole for loop and we stop executing the code for loop. And then let's look at continue statement. So it is used to skip the rest of the statements to be executed after so as soon as we encounter a continue statement in a loop, for that iteration, it skips that iteration, and the code after continue does not get executed and just skips to the next iteration basically. So when the if count is equal to 3, it does not console log it. We just moves to the next iteration and we get 0 1 2 4 current count this as output, not 0 1 2 3 4. The conclusion: control structure has specified how code will behave under various circumstances until a predefined condition is met. They enable your code to take specific actions based on a variety of situations. By being aware of this concept, developers can produce better JavaScript code, which is essential for creating better applications. Now let's look at the demo. So here I've created a whack-a-mole game. So here's the score. This screen represents the score, this number, and we have time left, which keeps on decreasing, as you can see, and score increases as we click on its face, the mole's face. Here, as you can see, my score is increasing, therefore forcing. And as the timer ends, I get alerted about my score, that is game over, and my final score is 8. Basically, I hit on the mole's face 8 times. Now let's look at the code. So here's the HTML code. So basically H1 tag for heading and 2 tags for score and the time left, and these all are div tags for the grid, the 9 square grid, 3x3 square grid. Now this is the basic CSS code, and let's look at the JavaScript code. So basically there are 4 variable squares, which basically squares all the 9 squares, stores the 9 squares. We access it using query selector all. Then we have time left. Time left is the time left screen, which keeps on decreasing. And we have score screen, which takes a score and mode. Then so basically first part is of this code is function r square function, which basically generates a number, a random square number, math.random star 9, which basically generates a random number between 0 and 9, 0 and 8 included. And in squares, I've stored all the squares. So according to the number, the mole gets added to that square according to the ID index number. And I run this function like every 500 millisecond using set interval. So the mole gets basically gets generated gets generated randomly in any of the 9 squares every 500 millisecond. Next, we for keeping up the score, I have this applied or add an event listener on each of the square. So it takes, as I click on a square, it checks if the position, which position is the right, shows the right position of the mole, and square ID is basically the square I'm clicking. So if it's right, my score gets incremented, otherwise nothing happens. So this keeps my a tally of my score. Next is countdown function, which as the countdown is decreasing, this key, so that functionality comes from this function. This function gets executed every 1000 milliseconds. So it keeps decreasing the time basically every 1 second, and then when the times become 0, it clears out. It ends the intervals of this r square function, which is basically being invoked every 500 millisecond, and also ends itself countdown. Timer ID is the set interval of r square, and countdown timer ID is the ID of the set interval of this function, countdown function. So basically it ends both the intervals and then alerts my result. These are the references and the GitHub repo link for my demo, and please let me know if you have any question. Thank you. So this was my second presentation.
Okay, and you have another presentation as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, continue with that.
Sure, sir. So, this is my third presentation. The topic of this presentation is function scopes and closures in JavaScript. The table contents will be functions JavaScript, and we will go through why functions are important in JavaScript, and scopes in JavaScript, types of scopes in JavaScript, and closures in JavaScript. So functions are in JavaScript, it is a state or set of statements. It basically takes inputs, do some computation, and produces output. It can have parameters, arguments. It gets executed when something invokes it. Functions can also be nested. So here's an example. There's a function num which has parameters num1 and num2, and they takes these parameters 5 and 5. It stores the result as I subtract these both variables. It stores the result in result variable and console logs it. 5 minus 5 is 0, and we get the result output. And let's look at why functions are important in JavaScript. What are its advantages? First is code reusability. You can use a function more than once. It saves coding, a lot of coding. Second advantage is less coding. By using function, we can avoid rewriting same logical code again and again in a program. Then next is maintainable code. Code becomes easier to maintain as changes need to be made only at a single location, which is in the main function. Instead you could have written a lot of function. And you need to make changes in all of the functions. Instead, you can just use as your for now. For better use, you are using only a single function and just calling it. So that maintains the code more. Then we have scopes in JavaScript. The scope basically means the lifespan of a variable. Scope determines accessibility or visibility of the variables. Inside the JavaScript code, there are three types of scope: global scope, function scope, and block scope. Let's look at global scope. Variables defined outside in function of block scope have global scope. Global scope variables can be accessed from anywhere within the code. Here's an example. Yeah, I have a global scope variable A, and here's a function, outer function. I'm console logging a variable in it, and there's another nested function, another function, and I'm again output console logging a in it. And I will so basically I've console logged a 3 times, and I'm getting output global 3 times. So basically it shows I can access a global a variable from anywhere within the code. Let's look at function scope. Variables defined inside a function have function scope. A function variable can only be accessed within the function and not outside in it. Not outside. Here's a function scope A, which is declared using the keyword var, and it has a string value. I'm in function scope. I'm console logging it inside the function. As I call the function, I get the output. I'm in function scope. But if I console log it outside the scope of function, I get the error that it is not defined. So basically, it shows function scope variables can only be accessed within the function. Let's look at block scope. Block scope declare the variables declared inside the curly braces of statements like if, for, while loops have block scope. It can be only accessed within the curly braces of code, and it can only be declared using let and const and not var. Here's an example describing the same. There's an if statement, it's true. So basically this gets executed. I will declare 3 variables a, b, and c, which have value 5, 10, and 15 using var, let, and const. I console logged it inside the braces and outside the braces. As I console logged it inside the braces, 5, 10, 15, all 3 values gets printed. Then as I is console log, then outside the basis, A gets executed, but after that we don't get an output. So basically, let and const variables that are declared using let and const are can only be accessed inside the basis and not outside the basis. So that's why we get an error that B is not defined. And let's look at closures in JavaScript. So basically, a closure is a function that references variables in the outer scope from its inner scope. It gives you access to an outer function scope from an inner function. Basically, it gives basically when we create a function, we also create a closure at function created time. Using function, you can access the outer function variables. Let's look at example. Here's outer function and here's an in function. So inner function acts as a closure here as it accesses the outside variable console logged in, and we return the inner function output. Here's a as I and here I've stored the instance of outer function in my func, and I call it, and as the return and it returns John basically as it should. Then this is the conclusion. Function scopes and closures are essential concepts of JavaScript, which are closely related to each other. Developer can write more efficient and maintainable code using these concepts. Closure is a powerful feature in JavaScript to maintain the state of a variable across various invocations of function. Now let's look at the demo. So here's a basic, here's a simple counter app. Here's the number display screen basically. So if I increment it, it gets added 1, and decremented, it gets -1, -2. Resets it, so it gets 0. Now let's look at the code. Basically, there are a few buttons which decrements and increments it. Here's the simple HTML code. H1 tag for the heading and display for P tag for display. At default, it is 0. Then 3 buttons: decrement, reset, and increment. Let's look at the JavaScript code. So I'm accessing buttons using BTNS, using query selectors and storing it in BTNS, all of the buttons, and accessing display using query selector counter display and storing it in display. I have applied an event listener to all of the buttons BTNS variable. So as I click on any of the buttons, this counter function gets executed. It checks for which of the button is clicked on by this if else statement. It first accesses the ID and just checks. If it's increment button, the add function get executed. If it's decrement function gets executed. If it's none of them, reset. If it's reset button, value gets 0 and it gets updated using this display.text content basically. So add and sub are basically closures here, which are used to add or subtract to the value of the display, that is the number that we just saw. So these are the references and my GitHub repo, and please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. That's all for today.
So Aditya, are you done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can you please show me your first presentation?
Sure, sir.
Yeah. So I'd like to appreciate your efforts for making the presentations and adding flowcharts and codes, and your demo was very nice. I will say.
Thank you, sir.
But then again, there are very few points which are actually important you need to look upon.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
I believe you shouldn't give presentation just for the sake of completing it. Okay, so I will say ki there was this lack of energy in presenting. I felt like you were
Oh,
just reading the presentation that you have made. So
it might
that's
be because of my health. I was just sick for a few days. Uh,
okay.
I'm sorry
Okay,
about that. I will take care of it later in my
okay, okay.
forthcoming
You
presentation.
should take care of that because it feels like you are only reading the presentation and there's no
Yes,
energy in it.
yes,
So
I
even
get
if
it.
I'm a viewer, I can just read the presentation my own. So what's
Yes,
the
I
part of
understand.
you?
So these
Uh-huh.
are all my words, but I understand your point. But
Yeah, so work on that. Rather, your PPT flow was good and
yes,
formatting is okay, and your demos were nice.
thank you,
Just
sir.
this presenting part you should work upon. You have that reference slide, you have added flowcharts and everything. So yeah,
Yes,
that was okay. Yeah, that's it from my side.
thank you, sir.
Yeah,
So, shall I leave?
yeah, you can.
Thank you, sir.
So let's move forward, and next we have Abhishek Nayak. You can unmute yourself.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Please open your camera, turn on your camera. Yeah, I
Yes.
can see you.
So, is my audio audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Shall I start, sir?
Yeah, you can start.
Good evening, sir. Myself, Abhishek Nayak. I'm from the full stack developer group. I'm from the batch of 1st April 2023, and today my presentation is on the software requirement specification. Sorry, sir. Sorry for it. Actually, we move ahead. What is an SRS? SRS is the official statement of what the system developer should implement. Actually, SRS can be defined as the blueprint that we have to develop before the commencement of the development of any software. It actually gives a better idea to the developers on how to proceed with the development of the software, and it also helps them decide what are the deadlines for each specific task. SRS should include the complete description of the behavior of the system to be developed. It should include everything from A to Z about the system. What are the expected outputs from the software? What are the user client needs, etc. It should be included. Everything should be included in the SRS. SRS should include both the definition of the user requirements and the system requirement specification. System requirements here refers to the kind of technology that is necessary for the development of the software. And also it precisely should define the client's requirement exactly. And if you move ahead, what is the purpose of the SRS? As we discussed, the SRS is precisely defines the software product to be built. The SRS is used to know all the requirements of the software development, and thus that will help in designing the software. Actually, the SRS is very useful for the developers. They can get a clear idea about the requirements of the software, which will help in clear development without any delays. It also provides feedback to the customer. Actually, suppose the client who has demanded for the software is a bit confused regarding his what are the exact requirements of his from the software. Then he can discuss with the developer, and he can be given an option of variety of outputs from which the final one can be confirmed and can be included in the SRS. So it is even it is helpful for the clients. I mean, the development of the SRS is also helpful for the clients. The steps for creating the SRS. The first most common step is communication with the stakeholder. There should be a clear communication between the developer and the stakeholder. There should not be any sort of confusion. The client should lay down his needs very perfectly, and the developer should also understand them and develop the software accordingly. Second, the discovery stage. In the discovery stage, the developer finds all the resources, all the technology that is necessary for the development of the required software. And actual building starts in the third step, that is building the structure. It starts from introduction, goes on with the user requirements, system requirements, functional requirements, etc. The fourth step is making a general description. It is kind of giving a summary about the software built. What are the input and what are the various outputs, etc. And fifth step again is the definition of the functional and the non-functional requirements. We'll come to that in the coming slides. And the sixth step is make sure the client is on the same page. After the SRS is built, it has to be gone thoroughly by the client as well, so that he is agreeing upon everything that is mentioned in the SRS. He can deny rather further in future. He can't deny that I said this, you did that, nothing. Who is a client? A client is somebody who buys the goods or pays for services. It is not like the random customer, like we go to a shop and buy a thing for exchange of some amount of money. It's kind of proper agreement between the client and the developer. They should both be on good terms. The client demands some software and agrees upon paying some amount of money to the developer in exchange of the software he demanded. The client has, as the client pays some certain amount of money, certain amount of some certain assets of his, he expects every need of his has to be fulfilled by the developer. And it is also the responsibility of the client to lay down all his needs very clearly. I mean, with extreme clarity, without any confusion, so that at the end of the product, he can't say that his needs aren't fulfilled. So basically, the requirements in an SRS are broadly classified into two types, that is functional requirements and the non-functional requirements. A functional requirement is mainly focused on what should the software system do. I mean, what is the input and what is the exact output. So these functional requirements are usually developed, usually defined by the client himself. And coming to the non-functional requirements, a non-functional requirement defines the quality attribute of the software, about the stressability. I mean, under what conditions is the software able to perform, whether it is able to perform under extreme conditions or not, so and so. So these are defined by usually the technical people, manager, the software developers, etc. And if we move on to the functional and the non-functional requirements of the SRS document we created for the trusting minds. So here it would be like the functional requirements it has various functional requirements, such as the system should enable the patients and the doctors to log in. They should be able to register themselves. And after the completion of the consultation, the patients and doctors can log out. The system, obviously, the system should allow the patients to book an appointment. The system should allow to make inquiries. I mean, if the patient doesn't want any confirmed consultation, rather just want to inquire about some symptoms, he should be able to do that. This system should also allow the patients to search for the available doctors. And there are various other requirements, such as the system should enable the administrator to log in. The main administrator of this, the doctor's website should be able to log in, and also should be able to manage the users. Coming to the non-functional requirements, it has to be reliability first. The system should be available when requested for service by the user. As it is a medical app, it has to be available 24/7 for the patients. The system should have a very low failure rate. It is a very crucial point, as low failure rate. I mean, in case of any emergency, if it shows a failure rate, it's a very, I mean, it gets into a very critical situation. The system must have a good response time. It also respond very quickly. I mean, it can't wait for the patients to respond. It has to be, it has to identify the symptoms very quickly and respond it. Second is security. I mean, patients enter their critical data. I mean, it can be like, suppose an MLA or any high profile person is accessing the website and he enters his critical data. And if that data gets leaked, I mean, it can be accessed by various hackers or various enemies of his, and he can be targeted easily. So the security of all the patients entering and even the doctors has to be pretty safe in the database. Usability, the system should include well-structured user manuals. The system should have informative error messages. If any error pops up, such as database crash, etc., the patient should be aware of it, rather than being in dilemma. The system should also maintain a good backup, as every time, I mean, suppose the system faces a system, I mean, database crash or the loss of database, it should have a backup of the details of the patients. Now, if we come, what are the types of the readers for the requirement specific? I mean, who are the people that go through the SRS document? First is the system customers. The system customers are rather the clients. They have to go through the SRS, confirming that all the needs has been fulfilled and the expected output matches their desired output. Second is the team managers. The managers, obviously, that managers has to go to the SRS so that can plan a perfect roadmap for the completion of the software in time. System engineers, the developers who are going to build the software has to go through the SRS. System test engineers, even the system test engineers, whether they perform the module testing or the integration testing, they have to go through the SRS rather to decide what kind of tests have to be performed when the software is being developed or after it is being developed. And system maintenance engineers, as we know, maintenance is forms the 60% of the software development lifecycle. So these maintenance engineers also has to go through the SRS in order to maintain the software and need to keep it updated with the latest technology. What are the characteristics of a good SRS? It has to be correct. Every requirement given in the SRS is a requirement of the software. I mean, every requirement that is has to be fulfilled by the software should be mentioned in the SRS, unambiguous. Every requirement has exactly one interpretation. It shouldn't be like that. One requirement directs or misleads the client to two outputs. Complete. It includes all the functional, performance, design, and external interface requirements, and the definition of the response of the software to all the inputs. Consistency, internal consistency. I mean, the requirements mentioned has to be consistent enough. Ranked importance, it is essential versus desirable. I mean, what are the clients, I mean, needs defined by the users, and what are the essential ones? It has to be ranked. Verifiable, a requirement is verifiable if and only if there exists some net cost effective process with which a person or machine can check. It has to be like, I mean, the needs developed by the given by the client has to be verified. I mean, it has to be feasible with the terms of the company. I mean, the developer company. Modifiable, SRS must be structured to permit effective modifications. I mean, in case the client demands for any change in the output, so the SRS should be built in such a way that these modifications can be easily inculcated, traceable, and the origin of each requirement is clearly traceable. I mean, what are the why was this requirement needed? Why its input and output has been included should be easily traceable by going through the SRS. And here we are seeing the diagram of the characteristics of good SRS. It has various one: understanding by customer, right level of abstractions, modifiability, verifiability, traceability, testability, etc. What are the benefits of the good SRS? The IEEE 800 defines the benefits of the good SRS. I mean, what are the main advantages of building a great SRS? Establish the basis for the agreement with the customers and suppliers on what the software product is to do. It helps. I mean, it helps in developing a very good bond. I mean, the clear clarity between the developer and the client without leading to any conflict between them in the future stages. It reduces the development effort. As I have said, it gives a very clear idea to the developers about the roadmap or about the tasks they have to perform one after the another in a specific deadlines. So SRS gives them a very perfect idea about it. Provides a basis for estimating the cost and the schedules. It also helps the team managers or the team owners to determine the estimate exact amount of cost or the finance cost in the terms of money and time that has to be invested for development of the software. So SRS provides that very basic foundation for that. Provides a basis for validation and verification. So before developing the software, every requirement has to be verified and also has to be validated whether it is legal or not, etc. And serves as a basis for enhancement rather than making direct improvements in the software to be developed. The improvements can be first be inculcated in the SRS and it can be decided whether it will enhance the software or not. Thank you. This is from my side, and for any queries, you can contact me on my email Abhishek Nayak 794@gmail.com.
So Abhishek, are you done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I will say you have good energy to present, and the flow was good. You
Yes, sir.
included many topics
Sir.
about the SRS, and I would like to say, can you just scroll the presentation on top?
Sir.
So yeah, as you can see, you have many text in a single slide.
Okay, sir.
Which is not a good thing. So you can only just add some 4 to 5 lines to it and then explain it by yourself.
Okay, sir.
Similarly, in the slide number 7 or 8, I guess. 8th, I guess. It's 8. Okay. So just include system customers and then explain the rest by yourself.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Don't include many text in it.
Okay,
See, the formatting is nice. You have used good formatting. And regarding your demo, that document that you made,
sir.
That document has a flow chart, right? So
actually, the thing is, I thought the PPT has to be only made on the SRS document. But when I saw others giving the reference of the trusting minds, so I just prepared that part immediately. So
okay, so yeah, I saw that you had the flow chart, right?
Yes,
and,
I had a flow chart. Yes,
you skipped that flow chart and you
Yes,
are introducing all the things that are inside that and all the Like if you have a introduction part, let's say if you have,
Yes,
if
sir,
you have the
sure.
measurement things, so what all the things are to be included in that
Yes, sir,
part.
yes.
But if you only had that flowchart with you, so with the help of that flowchart, you could have easily explained what exactly that SRS document does. Like
Okay, sir.
what are the, so you shouldn't have missed that part. That's actually a very important part, the
Yes.
flowchart.
So actually, before
And
me, sorry, sir, sorry to interrupt. Before me, some two students gave that SRS on PR, that testing minds.
yeah, I
So I
understand.
just immediately
They
prepared.
did include, yeah. So you felt kind of, also the PPT doesn't include a Q&A slide,
Okay, sir.
right? So yeah, so you should include a Q&A slide and then add your email account, that
Yes, sir.
Gmail there itself,
Yes.
instead of using it in the thank you slide.
Thank you,
It
sir.
should be
Yes,
separated. Yeah.
yes,
So these are these minute things.
sir.
Rest, your energy was good. You represented it very well,
Sir.
and the formatting is good.
Thank
Just work upon the presentation slides. Don't
Sir.
add too many texts.
Yes,
Use
sir.
the pointers and explain it by yourself.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, that's it from my side.
Thank you, sir.
Also, I would like to add something. When you actually explain something, like you have the task of SRS, although it's a kind of elaborative topic, like you only have this concepts and not much to explain,
Yes,
like
sir.
to give a demo.
Yes,
You
sir.
can actually add some examples to it to
Example.
make it more creative.
Okay,
Like
sir.
an SRS is just like a user manual.
Sir.
Let's say you have a product and it has a user manual, so you get to know how to use the product and what are included in the product.
Sir.
So you can use some examples to it and explain what exactly SRS is
Sir.
in layman terms. So it
Yes,
will
sir.
be more clear.
No,
Yeah, so
yes, sir.
I'll work upon that. Overall, it was good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, moving on forward, we have Pravin Jamale.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Abhishek, can you stop sharing your screen? Yeah. Yeah, Pravin, please turn on your camera.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you're audible and visible as well.
Okay, sir. Let me share a screen.
Yeah.
Is my screen visible, sir?
Yes, your screen is visible.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. First of all, my name is Pravin Jamale. I'm a Python developer intern. My task was TM Herd project requirements. So, requirements TM Herd mobile application developed by the company, our company. Requirements means TM Herd mobile application having its needs who make this application running or successful, or we can say complete. So from the perspective of development, I divided into two parts. I divided a requirement into two parts, functional as well as technical. So we will see. I will give you the information about these requirements of a particular typical mobile application or specific to a TM Hurt mobile application. This presentation includes I will give you the information about mobile application, also specific to TM Hurt mobile application, and also requirements. Already I told you that I divided into two parts, functional and technical, and lastly conclusion. So mobile apps, we all know, is a software application designed to run on mobile devices such as smartphones and tablets. They are built using various technologies and programming languages. They downloaded and installed from app stores like Google Play Store, Apple App Stores. Move to the next point. TM Herd mobile application. I already told you that developed by our company, having two requirements. I divided into two requirements. First is functional requirements, having three functional requirements and 11 technical requirements in it. So in functional requirement, we see what the application should do. So first functional requirement is identify the purpose of the app. Before beginning of the building the app, it's important to have clear purpose for the team. In the case of the TM Heart mobile application, the purpose was to build a app which to track heart rate and achieve fitness goal. While doing the fitness goal or fitness work, like for example, increase endurance, or if we consider running. So in that exercise, during that exercise, this app track their users heart rate and avoid users heart rate, avoid users heart diseases. So understanding the purpose of the app will help us determine the features and functionality. So it will help us to develop the features, what will be the features and functionality of the particular app. So we will need to understand the purpose of the app clearly. Second functional requirement is defining the user profiles. Who will be the consumer of this of a particular application? Or if we consider to the TM Heart mobile application, we can say that user who want to accomplish particular fitness goal, and also want to track the his users his or her heart rate. So this is the purpose of the TM Heart mobile application. Third functional requirement is by first two functional requirements, we decide the key features and functionality. Moving forward to second category of requirement, which is technical requirements. In technical requirements, we define the technologies and programming languages required for building the app. Building a mobile application requires the use of various programming languages. We see first technical requirement is programming languages and integrated development environments. So TM Heart app was available for both iOS and Android platforms. Some programming languages and integrated development environments. VHackVeda develop fitness and healthcare apps. So while developing a mobile application, to grab more and more users, we can develop the app for a cross-platform. Platform means for operating system. If for a particular application is run on whether it is on iOS or whether it is on Android, but it will benefit for the app to grab the more user if it is available for the cross-platform, means on Android, also on iOS operating system. So first programming language which we can use for developing mobile application is JavaScript. JavaScript is a programming language which can be developed cross-platform mobile applications using frameworks such as React Native and Ionic. These frameworks allow developers to write code in JavaScript that can be deployed to both Android and iOS platforms. Here in this programming language, Visual Studio Code IDE is used. Second programming language is C#. C# is used for developing also cross-platform mobile applications, but it uses a different framework, which is Xamarin. It allows developers to write code in C# that can be deployed to Android, iOS, and Windows platforms also. IDE used for this programming language is Visual Studio. And the third programming language which will be used for developing cross-platform mobile applications, which is Dart programming language. Here framework is used Flutter. Flutter allows developers to write code in Dart programming language, which can be deployed to Android, iOS, and Windows platform. Here IDE is usually is IntelliJ IDEA. Second technical requirements is user interface design tools. To make mobile applications successful, user interface and user experience of app are crucial. UI design tools are used to create the visual components of the mobile application, including screens, buttons, and menus. Some popular UI design tools include Sketch, Adobe XD, and Figma. Sketch is used specifically on iOS or OS operating systems. Some crucial visual components of the TM Heart mobile application: login and registration, home screen, heart rate tracking, pick a goal option, edit profile option. Third technical requirement is backend development. Backend development involves creating the server-side components of the mobile application, such as database and APIs. One of the key benefits of backend development is to enable the mobile application to access and manipulate large amounts of data, while providing a secure and reliable environment for storing and processing sensitive information. Backend development requires some programming languages such as Python, PHP, as well as database technologies like MySQL, MongoDB, and PostgreSQL. Developers also need to be familiar with web development frameworks like Express.js, Django, and Ruby on Rails that simplify backend development and make it easier to build scalable and secure applications. In the case of the TM Heart mobile application, the backend development included determining the maximum and minimum heart rates based on the user's profile and selected fitness goal. The backend development also included integrating the app with the Watch by API to ensure that users receive the notifications when their heart rate goes too high or too low. Fourth technical requirements is application programming interfaces. APIs allow mobile apps to communicate with web services, databases, and other backend systems to exchange data and perform various tasks. APIs define how different software components should interact with each other and what the information can be exchanged. In mobile application development, APIs enables developers to access data from third-party sources such as from social media platform, mapping services, weather services, and from payment gateways. By using APIs, developers can add features and capabilities to their apps without having to build everything from scratch. Some examples of APIs, I can say that messaging APIs, Google Maps, which is also a better example of API, which is used in more mobile application. And web services, when we get information from web services, there will be use of SOAP APIs. So moving to the fifth technical requirements, which is cloud services. Cloud services plays also a crucial role in mobile application development by providing a flexible and scalable infrastructure for hosting and running the application. With cloud services, developers can create and provision their own databases, servers, storage, and other necessary infrastructure components for the application. This allows developer to have full control on the resources of their application, which enables them to easily scale up or down as needed to meet the demands of the application. Cloud services also provide a range of management and monitoring tools that enable developers to easily manage and monitor their application's infrastructure. And having a low latency in an application, which is beneficial for an app because it is minimum delay. Whenever we say that low latency means that there is a minimal delay between the user's action and the app's response. So having low latency is a desirable in mobile application development, as it ensures a smooth and seamless user experience. Cloud services offers low latency services that can help mobile app developers to achieve fast response times for their applications. Popular cloud services for mobile application development include Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. Sixth technical requirement, which is testing tools. Testing and debugging tools are used to ensure the quality and reliability of the mobile application. Reliability means how the mobile application gives good performance, good in quality, means the reliability of the mobile application. which ensures by testing by using testing and debugging tools. Popular testing and debugging tools include Appium, Xtest, Appium, which is cross-platform support testing tool, which can test applications developed for multiple platforms, such as for Android as well as iOS. It allows developers to write automated tests in multiple programming languages. For testing the mobile application, we can use Java, Python, and Ruby programming languages. It supports user interface testing, and Xtest supports Xtest support testing for iOS applications only. It allows developers to write automated tests in multiple programming languages such as Swift and Objective-C. It also supports user interface testing. 7, technical requirement, which is a deployment. Once the mobile application is completed, it needs to be deployed to the app stores for users to download and use. This involves submitting the application to the respective app stores and complying with their guidelines and requirements. Eighth technical requirements is app store optimization. App store optimization is the process of optimizing the mobile application to improve its visibility and ranking in the app stores by using optimizing apps title, description, keywords, and visuals, among other factors. 9 technical factor is marketing, which is essential to drive downloads and increase user engagement with the mobile application. This involves various strategies such as social media marketing, influencer marketing, email marketing, and paid advertising. 10th technical requirement is user feedback. User feedback is crucial for improving the mobile application and ensuring it meets the needs and expectations of the users. This involves listening to user feedback, analyzing user behavior, and making data-driven decisions to improve the app's functionality and usability. Maintenance and updates. Mobile applications require regular maintenance and updates to ensure they remain functional, secure, and up to date with the latest technologies and features. This involves fixing bugs and issues, adding new features, and optimizing the user experience. Conclusion, building a mobile application like the TM app requires careful planning, development, testing, and maintenance. By following these key requirements, we can ensure that our app is effective, efficient, and user-friendly, and meets the needs and preferences of the users. The success of the application largely depends on the quality of the development, the user experience, and the marketing strategy. So this is my presentation. I covered all the points that I need to share with you. I divided the requirements into categories, functional as well as technical requirements. So if you have any doubt, then you can ask me. I will answer your query.
Okay, Pravin, are you
Please
done?
ask. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, Pravin, I'll like to say that the way you presented it was good. The flow was good, but as you can see, your PPT contains too many texts. So instead
Yes.
of including so many texts, just add some gist points or 3 to 4 lines about what they have in common, or what they have in general. Or what you could have done is you could have created a flow chart, right? So you had just 8 points, 9 points to your presentations, right? So just summarize it with a flow chart about what you are going to give. And can you just show me your presentation?
Is my screen visible?
Yes, the screen is visible. It's just this, yeah, some slide upon your presentation. Yeah, as you can see, there's just too many texts, right? So just include a few lines, few points, and then explain it by yourself, right? That's what I want you to add. And the rest you have formatted well, and you have added this Q&A slide, and the introduction slide. That is good. I believe you should have added one reference slide to it as well, like all the information you gathered
Yes,
from. So you should
yes.
have added that reference slide, right?
I will add
So
it into next
yeah,
presentation.
please add it. And yeah, that's it from my side. The rest of your presentation was okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So next we have Parth Kharva.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, Pravin, can you just yeah. Please turn on your camera, Parth.
Sir, turn on किया मैंने.
Okay, but you are not visible.
Okay, sir, मैं change कर लेता हूँ एक मिनट. You can use it.
Yeah, you are visible now.
Okay, sir.
You can share your screen.
Okay. So, sir, good evening, sir. My name is Parth, and I'm from Java Web Developer Group. My topic is Cypher in Java. So, my content is introduction part, advantages and disadvantages. We'll discuss how it does it work. I have some coding samples, output. So, first of all, we'll see the introduction. Defense Research and Development Organization is an agency of a government of India, which is responsible for the development of technology for use of a military. It was established in a 1958 headquarters in New Delhi. It is the one of the simplest and most used encryption technique. Julius Caesar was the first one who used it for communication with his officials. Based on his name, this technique was named as a Caesar cipher technique. Advantages and disadvantages. So advantages के बात करें तो easy to implement and use, thus making a suitable for the beginners to learn about the encryption. It requires only a small set of a pre-shared information. It can be easily modified to create more secure variant, such as by using a multiple saved values or keywords. And looking for the disadvantages, it is not secure against the modern communication encryption or decryption methods. Vulnerable to know the plain text attackers, where an attacker has the access of both encrypted and unencrypted versions of the same messages. The small number of possible keys means that an attacker can easily try all the possible keys until the correct one is found, make it invulnerable to brute force attack. It is not suitable for the long text encryption, as it would be easy to crack, and it is not suitable for the secure communication as it is broken. It does not provide the confidentiality, integrity, and authenticity in a messages. We will see how it works. And Caesar cipher has four terminologies: encryption, decryption, plain text, and ciphertext. First of all, we will see the encryption, the process of changing the given text or the message that can be encoded format using any encryption algorithm, so that it cannot be read normally and can be easily accessed by the authorized user. Decryption, the process of converting the encoded and encrypted message back to its normal form. Plain text, the original message which needs to be sent to the end user, it may or may not be formatted. Ciphertext, the resulting message formed when an encrypted algorithm is applied on the plain text. Shift, it is an integer value between the 0 to 25, which can tell us how many shifts will be applied on the character. Algorithms, in input, a string of the lowercase called text and integer values between 0 to 25 denoting the required shift, and procedures towards the given text one character at a time. For each character transfers the given character as per the rules, depending on whether we are encrypting or decrypting the text. Return the new strings which is generated. This is the encryption. In this encryption, a given message will be transformed into the another format message. To use the Caesar cipher technique, a shift will be given to us, which is applied to encrypt our messages. Let's learn about this example with given by the left side of the example. Suppose we are given a shift of a 3. Each of the character given a shift of a 3, and then it will be shifted to the next 3rd characters. Here you can see that A, B, and C. These are our plain text message, and then we have a 3 shift, that is 1, 2, 3. So A will become D, B would become E, and C would become F. So our encrypted message is DEF, and our actual plain text message is ABC. So next one is a decryption. Now we will process the ciphertext message which is encrypted by the Caesar cipher to break it down to its original message form. There will be a shift key given us which can shift each character back to get its normal message. And you can see the left side of the example. Our actual encryption message is D, E, and F. When we will decrypt the message, we will go to the left side of the shift, and when we encrypt the message, we will move to the right side of the alphabets. Our actual encryption message is D, E, and F. So we will decrypt the message. We will move to the left side of the shift. So D would become A, E would become B, and F would become C. So our actual message is A, B, and C. Now we see the coding samples. सर एक बार मैं डेमो दे देता हूँ. So you can see that first of all we will create a class which has named Caesar cipher, and it has a method of encrypting. So first of all we will get the string text and integer position. This position means it has a shift value, and string yani ki our plain text messages we will get using the parameters. First of all, our messages character one by one start encrypting. First of all, one character will enter in the for loop. They will check text has length of 0 more than 0. Then it will be entered in the for loop, and then it will check it has a space or not. If it has a space, then it will be removing the space, and if space is not remaining in our message, then it will comes into the else part, and in the else part each character will be checked if it is a lowercase or not. If it is a lowercase, then it will be converted into the uppercase, and if it is already uppercase, then it will given to the direct else part to the encrypt parameter, which is string data type. So our message is encrypted but not shipped. So we will shift our encrypted message in the for loop. First of all, we will check the encrypted message length. If it has a length more than 0, then it will become into the for loop, and character shifted a letter to given the shifted key which is name is a position, which is given by the sender. If shifted value is greater than value of the Z, it will be add a to Z interval after Z, and shifted the later it will save our actual message, our encrypted message in the result variable. Result is a string variable, and it is a decrypted method. So our encrypted message is already in the uppercase. We don't need to convert into the uppercase. First of all, it will check the text length. If it is less than 0 or not. If it is more than 0, it will come into the for loop, and then character is shifted to the back position, which is from right to left. If shifted letter is less than A, then it will be add A to Z interval before the starting character A to Z. Here the main method. Inside the main method, we have a SC scanner, which is used for the take the input from the user, and sc.next line, it will print the message. You will see the output. So our actual messages. We'll give the save of 2. So our encrypted message is this, and our actual message is this. I have typing one another message. Suppose we have entered the spacings and adding some characters, special characters like @ underscore. Let's enter to the safety 2. You can see that our encrypted message is this, but we are using the special characters and underscore. Our actual message is lost. So this is the very poor technique, as you can see here. You can see my presentation screen. Hello.
Yes, I can see your presentation screen.
Here you can see that underscore is become encrypted in the G, but in a decrypted we will has E. So our actual message is broken. So conclude Caesar cipher technique is for cryptography, where substitution of the letter takes place. Using a Caesar cipher, one can convert a text into a secret form, which is understandable to them who has the key. It is not secure for the modern communication. Currently, we are using the AES encryption technique. It is one of the most secure type. Advanced encryption standard is used by the governments and the security organizations, as well as the everyday businesses for classified communications. Here are the references which I used for making the presentation and our project. If you have any questions or doubt, you can ask me. Thank you. Sir, I have another presentation. Can I start?
Parth, I believe it's past 9 now, and we can't take any more presentations for today.
सर मैं 18th राह देख रहा हूँ सर कि 18th को भी ऐसा हुआ था मेरे साथ, कल भी ऐसा हुआ सर.
It's okay, but now it's past 9, right? So we can't take any more. Also, I want to add, I want to give review for this presentation. So you need to wait for the next presentation. You can give it tomorrow if you want. At the same time,
Okay.
7 p.m.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
सर पहले फिर मेरा presentation सर फिर ले लेना.
Sure. Just come first and then raise your hand.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So can you just exit this full screen and scroll to the above? Yeah. So Parth, as you can see, your presentation slides have too many texts, and you were reading those texts. I can see that. So you need to work upon that. Just add few lines and explain it. And your demo was very nice, well explained, and you added diagrams and you explained them as well using that board and pen. And I believe it was already explained in the diagram itself, but still you added your pen there. And can you just click on the 11th slide? So as you can see, as you're explaining the diagram itself, right? So there was no need to add the text on the right side. You could just have added some points where you are actually catching up with the diagram, right? So there was no need for this text part. Similarly to the 12th slide as well, you added a diagram and you explained the diagram, but text was like not necessary for as there as well. So you could have just skipped the text and just explain the diagram yourself. And yeah, I believe your demo was very nice, and your PPT formatting is good, but just add lines or pointers to your slides. Don't add complete statements or complete lines. And your reference slide, I will like to ask you, like you should have explained what exactly you got from those reference lines, like from the Java point, what you got, then tutorial point, what you got. So that needs to be done. And rather your PPT was good. I will say the presentation was nice, and just work upon your formatting part. And yeah, that's it from my side.
Okay, sir.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So guys, as I believe it's past 9, so we can't take any more presentations for today. So please join tomorrow's Scrum meeting at 7 p.m. and raise your hands. We'll take your presentations tomorrow. Okay, I'm gonna end this meeting.